Welcome, everyone, to the Tethys Shipyards. I am Takeshi Yamato, the Yardmaster, joining our host, the Housecoat Gamer.
Yo.
Today, we're actually doing an entire series of starships, all the variants of the Galaxy class. Some of these have already been stated in the book. We are going to go over those, then look over some of the other variants, and stat some of those. And technically, this is our second attempt, but our first attempt as a request. But our first attempt was before new information came out.
Yes. Life sucks, doesn't it? Anyway.
Yes. So, we start with the original Galaxy class, launch year 2359. Primary shipyards, Utopia Planitia in Mars, 40 Eridani A Starfleet construction yards in Vulcan, and the Tellar Consolidated Fleet Yards on Tellar Prime. Overview. The Galaxy class was designed to surpass any exploration and science vessel ever developed by Starfleet, including the most advanced technologies of the 2350s. The space frame also represented a totally new philosophy for crew mental well-being on long-duration deep space assignments, as it saw Starfleet providing facilities and living quarters for civilian dependents and volunteers. The concept centered on not separating families from loved ones for years at a time, and the morale on Galaxy-class vessels was correspondingly high. Capabilities. As one of the largest space frames manufactured by Starfleet at the time of its launch, it was surprising that the interior volume of the Galaxy class was often not fully allocated by the time it began its first mission assignment. Starfleet maintained a policy that the large amount of modular space inside could be expanded into as needed by the crew. This modular customization and the sheer scale of the Galaxy class meant that these vessels often had civilian specialists on board for even the most obscure research paths. As the Galaxy class was meant to probe far away from Federation space, the vessel had both the most powerful warp core of its day and the most advanced warp coils, allowing even a ship of its size to maintain a cruising velocity of warp 6 and a maximum velocity of warp 9.8.
The Galaxy class was also the culmination of the Century Cruiser program, which also spawned quite a few other derivatives. Some were highly experimental, others experimental, but actually useful, such as the Cheyenne and New Orleans class.
Yeah.
The name Century Cruiser is indicative of how long these ships were supposed to be in service. More on that later.
Yeah. And the book has some of the Galaxy variants coming later as like spin-offs and not steps along the path.
However, registry codes kind of contradict that.
Yeah.
Let's see. USS Rutledge. That's in the 59K range.
Right.
And that's in New Orleans, so
yeah,
it's a development boat.
Yeah. Anyway, stats. The Galaxy has comms 9, computers 10, engines 10, sensors 9, structure 10, weapons 10. As a basically 58 points for a scale 6 starship. Scale 6 starship. And for departments, it has 1 point in command, 1 point in science, and 1 point in medicine. It has phaser arrays and photon torpedoes, and a strength 5 tractor beam. Talents, it has modular laboratories, redundant systems, and saucer separation. Special rule, a galaxy of civilian specialists. Prior to the outbreak of the Dominion War, Galaxy-class vessels had numerous civilian experts on board of various career paths, often having brevet ranks as officers in the science division of Starfleet. Once per adventure, a newly created supporting character may begin as though they had already been activated once before. See page 134 of the core rulebook to represent the expertise typically found on a galaxy. Basically, supporting characters are like Miles O'Brien was in TNG before he became a main character in DS9.
The Dominion War obviously put paid to the Galaxy-class program.
Yes.
While many ships were upgunned and retrofit, it was rapidly discovered that the Galaxy was just not gonna cut it.
Yeah.
Many vessels were just outright decommissioned because they were surplus to requirements.
Yeah.
This also ties into Episode 9 and 10 of Picard Season 3, which includes the USS Enterprise, NCC 1701D, whose saucer section was attached to the drive section of the USS Syracuse, who was likely either crippled during the Dominion War or decommissioned afterwards. Now, let's get into the registry code. 17744. That is likely a mistake on the part of Terry Metalis and his company. Take,
Yeah.
Galaxy-class registry for the prototype?
The Galaxy, according to the book, USS Galaxy was NCC 70637. And all vessels of the class have code numbers higher than this unless using a legacy number.
I don't see an A. So, somebody screwed up.
Yeah. And they often do that in the book. They list the code registry it was assigned, and it's a different thing. And they say they often give the boats assigned codes and not associating it with precise date stuff. Anyway, for the Galaxy variants, there's one other that is stated in the book. That is the Ross.
Its technical successor. And
yes.
What happens when you have a baby with a sovereign?
Yeah.
The dish doesn't work.
Launch year is 2381. Primary shipyards: San Francisco Fleet Yards, McKinley Station, Earth, and Utopia Planitia on Mars.
I mean, seriously. The dish.
Yeah. Overview. The Ross-class exploration cruiser is an evolution of the large, long-range explorer-type vessel, building on the success of its Galaxy-class predecessor. The Ross is a product of a variety of important advancements in Starfleet's tactical and computational systems that came about in the 2370s. The Admiralty envisioned the Ross as a complement to the Sovereign-class assault cruiser. In contrast to the Sovereign's focus on combat performance and fleet command, the Ross used its extra tonnage to host a large suite of diplomatic quarters, crew support facilities, science labs, and even an auxiliary warp core. Capabilities. Compared to its Galaxy-class predecessor, the Ross features a variety of technological advances, both large and small. The 2370s was a decade of significant technological advancement, as Starfleet leaned heavily into research and development to address existential challenges posed by the Borg and the Dominion. Even so, the Ross's design was primarily concerned with mission flexibility, endurance, and diplomatic outreach. Most notable is the Ross's secondary matter-antimatter reactor, located in its saucer section. A ring of warp coils lines the outer rim of the saucer, providing the saucer section with the ability to achieve and sustain warp speeds on its own. The secondary warp core can also feed into the main EPS grid when the ship is in its docked cruising configuration, providing significant power redundancies, even overdriving those systems that can handle the increased power load. These robust power systems drive a complex network of computing components, which include Generation 2 bioneural gel packs and an FTL ODN system. At the heart of all this computing power lies the Exio Computer Core, a processor dedicated to sustaining a fully autonomous holographic crew member. Now, for the stats. This is, again, a Scale 6 starship. Comms 9, computers 11, engines 10, sensors 10, structure 10, weapons 10. Departments 1 point each into engineering, science, and medicine. Weapons, phaser arrays, photon torpedoes, strength 5 tractor beam. Talents, diplomatic suites, saucer separation, secondary reactors. Special rule, Exio holographic core. Basically, this thing can have a holographic crew member supporting character.
Now, STO has a significant number of
Other
Galaxy class
variants.
skins.
Yeah,
One
this
of
thing
them-
was a day one ship.
One of them is the Venture class, which needs a reskin.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
7A helps, but
It needs some work. We won't stat this one. Some of these we won't stat until they get the help they need. This one, however, the Andromeda, this is one that we statted in our previous video.
and I extrapolated this as another attempt to create a Galaxy-class successor using the same frame. After all, there is precedent for this with the Nebula class. The Nebula was the final stepping stone in the Galaxy-class program. And before anyone says otherwise, registry code USS Phoenix. Look it up before you decide to complain. I am not talking out my ass. Thank you very much.
Yep. And the Sutherland is an officially statted variant of the Nebula. So, the Andromeda is fine with that. And the Sutherland had a launch year of 2398, but for us, we did the Andromeda at 2410.
After all, Iconian War.
Yes. We gave this thing comms 9, computers 11, engines 10, sensors 10, structure 10, weapons 11. This thing...
Battle boat.
Yeah. This thing is still meant to do the standard Galaxy roles, but it is more than capable of defending itself. As also shown by its departments. It has 1 point in security, 1 point in science, and 1 point in medicine. Scale 6, as always. Phaser arrays, quantum torpedoes, and a strength 5 tractor beam. For talents, we gave this thing advanced shields, saucer separation, and secondary reactors.
You might have also noticed something when I reskinned this little boat.
Yes, it does have a mirror. Yes, it does have a mirror variant. And there is a specifically mirror designed thing, the Cygnus. But we will get to that later, because I have a new plan for this stuff because of some of the ships that have been released.
Yes, thanks to the
Anyway,
13th
let's look.
anniversary boats. Now,
Yeah, let's look at some of the other Galaxy variants first. Let's see. We've looked at. There's the Monarch.
that needs work.
Yeah, no statting that one.
Until you redo it, no touchy.
Yeah. And let's see. Signet. Let's see. No, that's already done. Venture, Ross, Galaxy. Is that all? Huh.
That's disappointing. But
Yeah,
not
there
entirely.
were a couple. Yeah, there were a couple day one variants, but those also need touching up. And
They
we are
also don't have any connection to the Tier 6 saucer separation skin.
not. Yeah.
A moment. Now,
Okay.
here they are.
Yeah. The galaxy is obvious.
Yeah.
Yes, the celestial. Oh my word. And the envoy. Yeah. Those holes cannot be healthy.
Yes, the audio for this is off. There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Now we're going to be moving on to the bigger boat.
Yes.
Cue the Terran hard rock.
Yes. Because now we look into a different timeline. In the mirror universe, in the 2360s, the enemy was at the gates. The Cardassian Klingon alliance had taken over. I had done severe damage to the Empire, and all the Terran Imperial forces were basically limited to the Sol system at this point, and the Terran Imperial Starfleet was woefully out of date until they developed a new ship design capable of incredible speeds and fighting off the myriad ship, capable of fighting off Cardassian and Klingon warships. This was their Galaxy class, and it was originally intended to be commanded by Captain Jellicoe, but Captain Picard of the ISS Stargazer, a much more ambitious and action-driven man than his prime counterpart, stole the ship and basically became its captain.
Picard used it to kick a significant amount of ass.
Yes. And yes, as STO considers IDW canon, so do we.
We have a phrase. If it works, use it.
Yes.
And since IDW is making sense,
we're using it. So, stats. We will give this thing a service date of 2363.
I'd say a little later, due to the Enterprise D launching after Wolf 359.
Okay, so 2367.
Roughly.
Okay. Yeah. So, we are going to... this version adds one extra point to the original Galaxy totals. I'm putting that into structure because, well, this thing needs more structure. Also, I've taken 2 points out of computers to drop those down to 8 and brought engines... Oh wait, I already did that. So, I added a point to put engines up to 11. And then I took 2 points from computers to bring weapons to 12.
For significantly obvious reasons.
Yes. Comms 9, computers 8, engines 11, sensors 9, structure 10, weapons 12. For departments, I put command plus 1. I put 1 point each into command and medicine as per the standard Galaxy stat block. But I took its point from science and put it into security for, again, obvious reasons. Now, weapon scale 6 as always. Weapons are phaser arrays, phaser cannons, a phaser spinal lance, and photon torpedoes, as well as the strength 5 tractor beam. For talents, I'm not sure what it would have aside from saucer separation, but it should have at least 2 more.
I would say enhanced reactors. After all, she has 2 giant impulse engines instead of just the one in the spine. Also, probably a secondary warp core.
So secondary reactors at the very least.
Yep.
Alright, so secondary reactors, saucer separation. Let's see. Some of the other talents.
We could put that as at your own recognizance.
Yeah, we'll leave it at just those two. I also decided to give this thing a special rule, basically an imperial version of Galaxy of Civilian Specialists. Might of the Empire. Terran Galaxy-class starships were designed with large interior spaces meant to hold battalions of troops for planetary assaults or to repel boarding actions. When making a supporting character for the first time, if the supporting character is part of the security detail or assault marine divisions on the ship, they may count as already having been activated once to represent the elite training of the troops assigned to such a vessel.
And such vessels would not simply be limited to the mirror universe. In
Yes.
2370, Captain Jean-Luc Picard experienced an anti-time future where the galaxy was discovered, while the Enterprise D was refit to similar standards. We refer to this as the Devron class, due to Star Trek Online's original name for this vessel, USS Devron, and the system in question. Now,
Yeah.
why do we even consider this thing even existing?
Well,
Star Trek Voyager.
yeah.
In the episode Relativity, we visit Utopia Planitia. Guess who's at Utopia Planitia? USS Enterprise NCC 1701D, getting her minor retrofit for generations.
Huh.
Opportunity, lore, conclusion.
Yeah.
Now, Picard is not a 100% highly trained engineer, but his descriptions would more than likely...
Yeah, his descriptions combined with the sensor data from the encounter they had with the Terran Enterprise would likely have made their way into the Starfleet Corps of Engineers, who decided to make the thing themselves, though theirs didn't really get finished until 2399.
And, of course, with the Treaty of Algernon more or less going straight to hell, a cloaking device could be installed upon this vessel if the captain so chooses. Again, this is Starfleet.
Yeah.
They don't like hiding. It's a good tactical option, but they prefer to let you see them coming. Openness and friendliness and all that.
Yeah. So, for stat blocks, we haven't quite figured this out just yet. So we're starting with the baseline. Baseline galaxy block. Comms 9, computers 10, engines 10, sensors 9, structure 10, weapons 10. We have 4 more points we can add to this.
Weapons.
Right. Weapons to 11 at least. Probably same with engines.
Yep, that phaser lance is going to require a significant amount of power.
Yep. And let's see. So we have 2 more points. Comms 9, computers 10, engines 11, sensors 9, structure 10, weapons 11.
Comms. This screams command ship.
Yep. Comms 10. And you know what? I'll put the weapons at 12 again.
Spinal lance.
Yep.
That's all that needs to be said.
Yeah. Now, departments. Again, the Galaxy baseline is 1 point each in command, science, and medicine. Leave the point in command. Gonna need to put something into security, I think.
Yep. Again.
Yeah. So the question is, do we take it from science or medicine?
I'm gonna have to say medicine.
Okay. So command 1 point each in command, security, and science.
I presume we've gotten to the descriptor traits.
Well, we still have weapons and talents.
Obviously,
So
she's going to be mounting phaser arrays, torpedo
yeah,
launchers,
yeah,
spinal lance.
yeah, the weapons are basically the same as the Terran Galaxy. Phaser arrays, phaser cannons, phaser spinal lance, photon torpedoes, strength 5 tractor beam. Talents, probably secondary reactors again.
Huge ass impulse engines.
And I would say saucer separation because
thanks to a remodeling, the Galaxy X is now capable of doing that.
Yeah. Saucer separation. And we could do modular laboratories or redundant systems.
Redundant.
Redundant systems. Alright. And now we have two variants of the Galaxy X, which apply
descriptor trait.
Oh yeah, descriptor traits.
Last gasp of the century.
Federation starship, last gasp of the century. Yep.
The Galaxy class program was meant for a more optimistic time, meant for a lifespan of at least 100 years. The Dominion War kind of ended that optimism, but the ship was still viable. Newer Galaxy-class vessels were simply retrofit to the new Devron-class standard.
Yeah.
Serving as both the big stick and, to a point, in the exploration role. After all, at her heart, she is still a Galaxy-class starship, even if she does have a really big gun.
Yep. Now, the Andromeda has a variant in the Galaxy X type, the Yamato 2 class, we are calling it.
Yamato 2 because of Star Trek Starfleet Command, whose big, angry battleship for Starfleet is named the Yamato class.
Yeah.
And seeing as we've already gotten at least one SFC port, and more to come because Cryptic wants to make us all happy.
Yeah. So, this one we don't have a full stat block, just some conversion notes from the Andromeda. We have we reduce computers from 11 to 10, and increase weapons from 11 to 12. Medicine drops to 0 again, and engineering goes up to +1. We add the trait Engine of War, because this thing is, well, an engine of war. And add phaser cannons in the spinal phaser lance. Remove saucer separation, because, well...
Bleh.
Yeah. And we add improved warp drive. And yes, we have some other variants.
Nope. Well, kind of. Needs a little bit of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have the Terran answer to the Galaxy, to this thing. The Sirius. This thing is, well, it is basically their evolution of the Galaxy class.
Likely incorporating elements of the Ross. I mean, it's rather obvious. That is a really big deflector dish on the saucer. So, it could probably do what the Ross's saucer can do.
Yeah.
And probably has a secondary warp core all its own. I mean, that is a very big, chunky saucer section.
Yeah. So, basically what we're treating this as the Terran Andromeda, built at about the same time. So service date of 2410. And we're starting with the basic stat blocks of the Terran version of the Galaxy class. So we start with comms 9, computers 8, engines 11, sensors 9, structure 10, weapons 12, and 1 point each in command, security, and medicine. Now, from the 2360s to 2410, to the 2400s is 40 years. After 2400, it's 1 point every 50. So we have 4 points we can add into this thing. I'm thinking we put at least 1 point into weapons for weapons 13. The Terran Empire would give this thing quite a bit of boom.
More guns, more fun.
Yes. Now,
I'm gonna have to say engines for power output.
Yeah, engines 12. That gives us 2 more points.
Comms. This is also a command vessel.
Yeah, comms 10, maybe comms 11, but I was also thinking maybe put a point into computers.
A warship can still explore.
Yep.
HMS Beagle.
Yep. And while the Terran doesn't focus on their computing technology quite as much, this would still see some improvements. So, comms 10, computers 9, engines 12, sensors 9, structure 10, weapons 13.
I would like to direct you back to the usual line I say about the Gorn. Just because they got scaly fingers doesn't make them stupid.
Yeah.
In this case, just because they're warmongering imperialists
doesn't make them stupid.
If anything, it makes them even more inventive.
Yeah. Now, departments. Again, the Terran Galaxy has command 1 point each in command, security, and medicine. Command and security, probably not the best. Command and security probably can stay, but that point in medicine could probably move somewhere.
Most likely engineering. After all, an engine of war cannot move if it's not ready.
Yep. So, weapons. Phaser arrays, phaser cannons, phaser spinal lance, quantum torpedoes, strength 5 tractor beam. Talents. I think give this thing command ship.
Yeah. It's a command ship in STO, and, well, the Galaxy class did serve as a command ship during Dominion War.
Yeah. And we will give this thing improved warp drive and secondary reactors as well.
More power. Without making it Tim Taylor.
Yeah. Improved warp drive, secondary reactors. In fact, I think I'll give the Terran Galaxy improved warp drive. Just improved warp drive. Just because, well, those warp nacelles probably help. And I think I'll give that to the Devron as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, Terran Galaxy has improved warp drive, saucer separation, secondary reactors. Devron, improved warp drive, redundant systems, saucer separation, secondary reactors. Now, the series. Here is where we go back to the Galaxy for the Cygnus. Yes, the Cygnus. This, basically, I figure for Terran ship development, they went from the Sirius down to the Cygnus. unlike us, unlike Prime, where we went from Andromeda to Yamato 2.
This somewhat makes sense. After all, Terrans are all about big guns.
Yes.
However, they're also going to bow to practicality and go, we don't need all big guns. We're going to need something a little more economical, but still very, very deadly.
Yes. Plus, I think this might have been developed in like 2412, 2413, during the whole thing with Lita and the other. Lita came to our timeline for help dealing with the Emperor, and well, there was something of a technology exchange between her forces and ours, and we got some of their designs and they got some of ours, and
probably a non-aggression pact or something. They stay out of our universe, we stay out of theirs.
Yep. Not to mention, I think the Cygnus is probably a joint venture, something with more firepower than the Andromeda, but without quite as many resources involved as the Sirius.
Think like a heavy cruiser with more guns than a battle cruiser.
Yeah. So, for the Sirius, we will drop weapons. For the Cygnus, we will drop... we'll take this basic stat block for the Sirius. We will start by dropping weapons from 13 to 11, and we will put 1 point, and we will shift those points, one each, into computers and sensors. Computers from 9 to 10, sensors from 9 to 10. Do we have any ideas for department modifiers?
Not really. I hate to say this, but this is basically just a Terran version of the Andromeda.
Right. So we keep the serious modifiers of command, security, and engineering?
Pretty much.
Okay. We remove the phaser spinal lance from weapons. There are still cannon mounts in here somewhere. Not quite as obvious as in the Sirius.
Yeah, they're just not the goddamn RCS clusters. I'm still bitter about that. Put them somewhere a little more practical, please. Not where you're supposed to be steering the goddamn ship.
Yeah. And I would also... And the other change I would make is from the Sirius. Maybe replace improved warp drive with saucer separation?
Yeah. And considering the bulk of the saucer, it's probably got its own warp drive.
Improved warp core with saucer. Improved warp drive.
You know, this gives me an excuse to complain a little. As much as I hate this thing for its deflector dish, where's the Terran version of the Ross?
Yeah.
I mean, this don't work.
Yeah.
It don't work.
Yeah.
I mean, shiny metallic is nice and all, but
yeah.
No.
So, yeah. That is pretty much the entire series of starships of Galaxy class and variants. The Galaxy class itself was a very... Oh yeah, there was also basic mirror galaxy, but that's just if you want to apply the paint job. I'm not going to worry about conversion notes or stats or anything.
If you want to convert it, just use the basic galaxy.
Yeah. Maybe shift a point into security from somewhere. I don't know.
But it does make sense. After all, Galaxy X's are very resource intensive.
Yeah. They might have made a couple without the third nacelle or the big cannon. But, yeah.
Still, it's awesome.
Yeah. The Galaxy class herself is a pretty good design. And
it's so iconic, it actually saved Picard Season 3.
yes.
Then again, that's mostly Terry Metalis, but that's another story.
Yeah. And
I suppose that pretty much wraps up the Galaxy class as a whole.
Yeah.
From idealism lasting 100 years to the unfortunate pragmatism of we need more guns.
Yeah.
Makes me sad, but also happy, because we got to see the D in all of her glory one last time.
Yep. And in the end, she did finally show up fully restored in the Fleet Museum.
And served as the flagship for the Federation for one whole year. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Yeah. Terry Metalis is one of us. And he knew how to give the D the send-off it truly deserved.
Bye.